Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV, where my microphone was clear. I didn't even notice it was not in front of my face. Let's try that again. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Main Street TV, where now I have a microphone. Dr. Riffle is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
See, back because you've been here before.
I have.
Yes, and what did we talk about before? I'm trying to remember.
We just talked where I was starting as a physician. So
Okay. Just welcoming you
Exactly.
to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about something that's very, very important, and that is mental health, but more importantly, men's mental health, which I'm assuming that men don't like to talk about too much. So we will get into that in just a moment. But first we have a message, and then we will be back and we'll talk about Men's Mental Health Month right after this.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
From breaking news to heartwarming stories, a telegram is your ticket to the latest buzz in town.
Read your daily dose of local headlines, sports, and entertainment and more, in hand and on paper.
Get a print and digital subscription for only $7.95 per month. Delivered fresh every Wednesday and Saturday.
Visit thetelegramnews.com or call 740-286-3023 today.
Don't just read the news, be a part of it.
Saturday, August 16th is Southern Rock Woodstock in the Gallipolis Fairgrounds. This event will feature 3 decades of original artists and legends, such as Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, and Molly Hatchet. In light of this event, Total Media will be giving away 4 VIP tickets. For a chance to win these exclusive passes, comment your favorite Southern Rock song, and our staff will vote on which one is the best. Good luck, and may the best man rock out.
All right, and welcome back. And we are here with Dr. Riffle, and we are going to be talking about Men's Mental Health Month. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see, we were here welcoming you to the Holzer family not too long ago. But when did you join Holzer? When was that?
So I started as a resident back in 2021, and then last summer I finished my residency and signed on as an attending physician for family practice and wound care.
Oh, okay, perfect. And also, you were one of those fortunate people to be in school during COVID and all that.
I was. Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, my first year of residency was still pretty in the height of COVID, and so take a stressful time, with residency, add a little bit more stress on. So it was, a lot of learning.
I'll bet. And, again, there was no playbook for all that stuff. So it was like, as you said, add the stress of, you trying to get through school and all of that stuff on top of, global pandemics. That would be rough.
It was. Yeah.
Well, you made it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So now you are working at Holzer where?
At the Pattonsville Clinic.
Okay, the one up on the hill.
Yes, so that's where my family practice clinic is, and then my wound care is over at the Jackson Hospital, right next to the ER.
Yes, okay. And so you're working in both places then?
Yes, so Monday through Thursday morning I'm in family practice, and then Thursday afternoons I do wound care.
Okay. What got you into wound care?
Just did it during residency and really found a niche for it, so it's something I wanted to do when I finished.
Okay. I hear that story so much with docs that come in here that, it's just, I tried this, I tried that, and it was just something that I found that I fell in love with. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, then how on earth did we get here to talk about men's mental health?
So men's mental health is just an important topic because what we're finding is that, men in general, we've always been taught, talk about your emotions, right? Don't talk about your feelings.
You have to be tough.
Yeah, so a vast majority of patients that we see for mental health tend to be females. But when you look at the numbers, so women are more likely to attempt suicide, but men are more likely to successfully complete suicide. And so 80% of suicides in the U.S. annually are men.
Are you kidding? I didn't know that.
So,
wow.
Men tend to choose ways that are more successful. And so that's where that
more
80%.
Permanent.
Yes, correct.
If that's a, word. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and so, mental health in general, we're talking anxiety, depression, substance abuse, stress, PTSD, bipolar. Those are some of the common things that we see in the clinic. And so we're just trying to reach out to men and just let them know that it's okay to come to the clinic and talk about these things. There doesn't have to be a stigma associated with mental health like there previously was in the past.
Well, and if we mentioned COVID earlier, if there's anything good that's come out of that is people, I think, talking more about things, whatever's bothering them or what's going on in their minds. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah,
for sure. And, for Holzer, we offer, different services. So we have in-person appointments. We also have video visits and telephone visits. So there's multiple ways to get help without necessarily having to come in all the time.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. I can see where is it harder just to get guys in general to go to the doctor?
It is.
I just feel like that's a thing.
Yeah, it is in general. But, once they get in and we can get them feeling better, I think a lot of them are happy that they did come in.
For sure. So what are the main mental health topics? I know you touched on a few, but what are the things that you're seeing most people for, or is it just a whole variety of different things?
A whole variety, but in general, probably the most common mental health things that we're seeing are going to be depression, anxiety, and substance abuse.
Okay. And so can we talk about that for a moment and assure our viewers out there that, and I've said this a million times here on the show, if there's something wrong with your heart or there's something wrong with your blood pressure or whatever, you go to the doctor and you seek a treatment to help that out. So if there's something wrong with your brain, why is that not okay?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just the stigma.
But why?
Well, I mean, it just goes back generations, right? I mean, men are supposed to be tough. Typically when you look back, men were the ones that took care of the family, so they couldn't show weakness. And I think as we kind of shift towards trying to optimize everyone's health, this includes men and it includes mental health. And
I think nobody wants to be dubbed as like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the first thing that goes through your mind. And the fact of the matter is, if you're having issues, you're not good to yourself and you're not good for anyone else out there. It's much better if you are feeling better.
Right. Well, and the statistics around mental health show that there's a lot of connection with the physical health as well. So when you look at some of the numbers, like depression increases your chance of heart disease by 64%, and increases your chance of diabetes by 60%. And men on average, so men with mental health, untreated mental health disorders, they on average will have 10 to 20 years less life expectancy.
Really?
Yeah. Because of those risky behaviors, substance abuse, increased risk of medical diseases like heart disease, diabetes.
I wonder what's the correlation between mental health and like the diseases that you spoke of?
Well, a lot of it just comes from untreated depression. You tend to, not exercise. You tend to eat unhealthy. You tend to engage in risky behavior, and the things that generally people do to help promote their health. People with untreated depression, anxiety aren't necessarily doing those things.
That makes sense because you kind of just crawl into a hole.
Right.
And it's real hard to get out of it.
Yes. And then also, the untreated stress can, it's an inflammatory kind of high hormonal state for the body, which prolonged periods of that can cause increased risk for these health issues.
Okay. And one of the questions that you all have written down here is the common misconceptions people have about men's mental health. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so, common misconceptions are going to be that things like depression has to be that you're sad or suicidal. And what we find is that's generally not the initial presenting symptoms. So with depression, what I see a lot in clinic is going to be like issues with anger or irritability, fatigue, or a lack of focus, lack of drive. So you wake up in the morning, you slept all night, but you still don't want to get out of bed. Something called anhedonia, which is where you don't want to do the things that you used to enjoy doing. So like you don't get, let's say golf, for instance. You used to enjoy golf, but now you just don't even want to go do that anymore.
Okay.
That can be a sign of depression. A lot of stress, anxiety, doing poorly at work, issues with relationships. So those are things that we see more commonly than necessarily like the overwhelming sadness or suicidal thoughts, we'll say.
Sure. And that makes total sense. And I mean, it's just a lack of kind of like wanting to live your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what are some of the things that people can do? I know there's anything from medication to therapy to, everything in between. And, the good Lord made us all different. So there's not, again, a playbook for all of this stuff, or I guess you have to figure out what's best for each individual.
Yeah, and so, it does vary by the individual. When you look at some of the options we have available, so there's medications, which, most people know, so antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, which we have a wide variety of those.
And some work great for some people and some work great for others.
Yeah, and so, with medications, what I like to do a lot of times is try to find medications that are going to hit multiple problems. So we have medications that, for anxiety, depression, but also will help you quit smoking. We have some that will help with like chronic nerve pain. And so trying to find a medication that, provides multiple benefits is something that we will try to do a lot of times. The other is, if we're really having trouble, we actually have new stuff available at Holzer where we can take a swab of your mouth, send it off, and they test it based on your genetic makeup and will tell us which medications are more likely to work for you versus others. And so that's something interesting.
That is so cool.
So we've been employing that for people that are, difficult to treat. There's also therapy. So, cognitive behavioral therapy is important. So when you look at the studies, the best effective treatment is actually a combination of therapy and medication. Like if you were to look at the thing with the highest rate of success.
Sure, that makes sense because I don't know. There's masking things and then there's fixing things. So you kind of want to do a little bit of both probably to try to help create the whole situation or to help the situation.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, just talking, right? So,
which is also a thing men don't do. Correct.
Well, and trying to get people, one of the things that I push is trying to find groups of like-minded individuals. So you think of, AA as an instant, right, as an example. So Alcoholics Anonymous, that's a group of people that have similar backgrounds, similar experiences, but trying to find these groups. And with Facebook, social media, there's a lot of these groups for pretty much anything now, PTSD, anxiety, depression. So really people are able to find groups that have similar experiences and similar backgrounds for really any condition, that you may have.
That makes sense. Just make sure it's a healthy group and not a weird group.
Correct.
Because there's those out there as well. Yeah. All right. So since men a lot of times, and I know I probably sound like some kind of sexist, but I think it's true, won't need maybe a little push to go get some help from somebody, a loved one or a spouse or maybe a parent. What are some of the things that you should be looking for to know that you should be pushing that person toward maybe getting some help?
Well, so some of those, warning signs that we talked about earlier. So the agitation, the anger. When you look at substance abuse, so someone who typically has been, maybe a social drinker, you notice that they're starting to drink more and more. People who are starting to have decreased performance, at work or just in their relationships, excessive fatigue, really anything that is outside of their norm. You want to start considering, could this be something that's related to like a mental health disorder?
Okay. And what do things do people change over time? Like, say you've been on, an anti-anxiety medicine for, a few years or whatever, and then can your body chemistry kind of change to where treatment might need to change?
I wouldn't say it needs to change really based on their chemistry, but more just the social situation, right? Because things, as your life progresses, things happen. So you could be stable on a medication for years, and then you have a family death or whatever happens in your life, and then that would require a change in medication. So that tends to be more common. Just something has popped up or happened in their life.
So what would be the best way to, know whether that's something that you need to consider or not?
So honestly, just talking with a physician, talking with a provider.
Okay.
Because we have screening tools that we use, so questionnaires, and then it helps us come up with, an objective number to put you on a scale, whether we think it's more of like a mild, moderate, severe depression or anxiety. And then that also helps us track as we help treat you, seeing that questionnaire is decreasing.
Okay.
Helps us know that it's, that the treatment's effective.
Okay. And what would you say to people that are like, yeah, well, I know, but I don't want to get on any of that medicine because it makes me feel weird or numb or, whatever. What would you say to that?
So, then that would be someone that maybe just a medication change would be appropriate, or just a different treatment, type, right? Like therapy, something that's non-medicational.
Are there therapy places around here? I don't even know.
So there's...
does Holzer have that kind of...
So Holzer does have mental health services.
Oh.
And then also, Hopewell, which Hopewell has multiple centers. That's one that we commonly use. But between Chillicothe, Athens, Jackson, Gallipolis, there's multiple places that we use for mental health services.
Okay. And what's a good place to start?
So, the easiest place to start is just making an appointment with a
provider.
With a provider, right? So,
Yeah.
At least for my practice, initially, I think that doing an in-person visit for the first one is a good idea, just to meet the provider, meet the patient, establish that relationship, and then if, from that point on, you want to try to do phone or video visits, then for mental health, I think that that's something that, can be appropriate to do. And so I think that helps alleviate that worry of, constantly having to be at the doctor, or afraid that people will see you, afraid that people will know that something's wrong. So there's ways to discreetly, get these issues addressed. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's important for people to know, is that just because you come to a provider for mental health doesn't mean that everyone's going to know that you're being treated for mental health.
Yeah, and again, own it, right? I don't know. I think I've been very transparent here. I've suffered from anxiety for years, and debilitating. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. Mm-hmm. It's not good. But own it and talk about it, and tell your story with somebody. Maybe you can help them.
Yeah, and getting treated, when you get these mental health conditions treated, you'll find that quite a few things in your life improve, right? Mm-hmm. Relationships, your job, your hobbies, you feel more energy. So there's not many facets of your life that won't improve by getting your mental health improved.
And it is a thing, and sometimes I think you start to go down that hole, and then, as I said, it's kind of hard to get out of. You can't do it on your own. You mm-hmm. need someone to help you.
Yeah, and it's important to have that support system.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, so how does a person make an appointment with you?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. You can call Holzer at 740-446-5000. or you can get online at holzer.org, and then you can make appointments through the website.
Okay. Very good. So it's very easy. And honestly, if the website, if you haven't checked out the Holzer website, it is like awesome. You can schedule appointments. You can even talk with your doc. You can you can get your test results.
Yeah, through the patient portal.
It's wild. Like I was had blood work done not too long ago, and it was like an hour, and I got a email, and I was like, oh, my blood work's back already. Interesting.
Yeah, so it really cuts down.
Then I'm like, I don't know if I want to look at it or not, cholesterol, but no, I'm just kidding.
So, well, and it really cuts down on the amount of time between when a patient has a question when they get an answer.
Sure. Well, and it's convenient, like, this is why human beings text, right? It's
Right.
easier to, on your time, you can write a little message, and then the doctor can write a little message back, and
Right.
When at everybody's convenience instead of playing phone tag, because that's a rough one. Phone tag's rough. So, so you are also, you're not just dealing with mental health and wound care. People can come see you for family practice, right?
Yeah, so I, being family practice, I can see, birth through death, and I see really any chronic medical condition.
Okay.
So whatever the need is, I can either do it myself or get you to the appropriate person.
Well, and that's kind of the cool thing I always say about family practice is like you're the concierge of people's medical life, because if you can't take care of it, which most of the stuff you can get them to the right specialist. And the cool thing about Holzer is there's a big network there, so you can kind of do it all under one roof, or at least within the system.
Yeah,
somewhere.
And generally, it's in a reasonable time frame, which is important, right? Being in a smaller system, having those connections, getting patients in an appropriate time frame is important for us.
Absolutely. And, if it is kind of an urgent thing, there's the urgent care available, and of course the ER, but the urgent care is great too if you can't get in to see somebody. So that's very convenient as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, what else are we going to talk about? Because we got like 20 minutes.
Oh, my.
Unless you want to make the girls come over and talk. Nope. No.
You mentioned the network, and talk a little bit about population health and how you work together as a team with seeing patients and the care managers.
Oh, yeah. So population health is really trying to focus on getting the appropriate screenings completed. So when you look at, getting your mammogram, your pap smears, colonoscopies. So the USPSTF, which is the United States Preventative Service Task Force,
Okay.
they have a set of recommended screenings, and it's based on risk factors, based on age, based on sex. So, mammograms, for instance, right, screening for breast cancer, they're the ones that set the recommendations for when you should start getting mammograms, like what risk factors would make you get a mammogram earlier, and then how often. And so population health helps us to make sure that, as many of our patients are up to date on their screenings as possible.
Yeah.
Also, we have care managers that will help patients if we have situations arise. Like we had a patient, the other day in clinic that their air conditioner wasn't working, so we were able to get them a free, window air conditioner just because of the heat. And so just providing their services, and they just have a wide connection available and resources to community to help patients.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Free air conditioner. I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's through community action.
Okay. So you have this whole network of people that are there to help. And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
It's why you do what you do.
It is.
Is to help people. Okay. I was thinking about what you said about doing the swab and sending it off. It just dawned on me, and I didn't know what she was talking about at the time, but I went to visit one of my best friends in Columbus, and I don't see her very often anymore. And she has suffered from anxiety and depression for a long time. And she was telling me that now it makes sense. She must have done that because she said, my doctor did a test and found out that I'd been on the wrong medication all these years. And they've just recently switched it to something else. And she was like literally that day, like in the process of switching over. So now that makes sense as to what she was talking about.
Yeah, and the test doesn't, so what the test does is it looks at how your body metabolizes medications, handles medications, and it makes recommendations on which ones are likely to be more effective versus less effective. So it doesn't give you a list of ones that won't work. It just gives you a list of ones that are less likely to have interactions like within your body in terms of metabolism or the way that you process medications.
Because again, the good Lord made us all different, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and I know in being with, oh, that's a good point. I know in being on medicine, that isn't it hard to switch? Is it hard for people to switch over to different medications?
No, so generally if you're switching between classes of medications, it can require more of a titration, like you'll just have to slowly come off of one. But if you're switching within classes of medication, then usually we can make a switch. The only thing different is going to be the dosing, because different medications, it doesn't have the same dosing. So 50 milligrams of one medication isn't the same as 50 milligrams of another, usually.
Okay, that makes sense. Because now I'm sure that there's a ginormous amount out there.
There is.
Of different
we have quite a few available. And like I said, generally we try to tailor it towards what other medical conditions you have going on and try to use a medication that has the most benefit.
Because when you start talking about anxiety and depression, especially, I think with men, maybe with women too, it kind of goes hand in hand with substance abuse, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. So, and it can be really either or, but what we find a lot is that really mental health issues is what leads to the substance abuse.
It's like the chicken or the egg sometimes.
Right.
But
I mean, you can see it either way, but what we do find a lot of times is that, you wonder if you went back in time and treated that mental health, if the substance abuse would have even become an issue.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Seems like something. So Liv was asking, she just asked about anxiety medications, and I've seen this on TV talking about it with the heat.
Well, so,
Why is that a factor?
So just in general, becoming, dehydrated can be an issue with any medication because, if we get severely dehydrated, we'll say that can decrease your kidney function. Your kidneys are what excrete the medications. And so if your kidneys aren't functioning properly, then levels of medication can build up. So we're talking, in general, like more with the dehydration. Just being out in the heat, but if you're adequately hydrated, your kidneys are working fine, you're not becoming symptomatic of dehydrated, then I don't think that there would be too much of an issue.
Okay. So just watch. I mean, this heat is not good for anybody. It's not like, catastrophic. I mean, you turn on the news and it's like, oh my God, we're all going to die or something. But just hydrate, drink water. So they had a thing on the Today Show this morning, though, that they were saying that some people in, I think it was Sweden, some doctors did a study or something, and that milk is more hydrating than water because of the sugars and the salts and the fats and I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, in general,
I guess it kind of makes sense.
It does. I mean, especially compared to water alone. So usually my recommendations for people out in the heat is going to be alternating between electrolyte drinks and water. So
Okay.
You don't want to do one or the other as your primary hydration. You want to be switching, because if you just drink electrolyte replacement supplements all day, then usually it's too much.
Sure.
And if you don't drink any, then with just water, you're not replacing the electrolytes.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, is there something to that Gatorade and all that stuff? I mean, it is helping you. It's not just a gimmick, right?
Well, in the appropriate setting. So Gatorade and most of these electrolyte drinks, they have a little too much sugar, and electrolytes just to drink is, day to day.
As your normal.
All day,
yeah.
every day. But when you're dehydrated, when you're sweating, when you're losing fluids and electrolytes, then they are beneficial.
And what is electrolyte? What does that mean?
So electrolytes are going to be things like sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride.
So you're just helping replenish that into your body.
Yeah, things that are commonly found in sweat.
Oh, so you're drinking sweat.
Pretty much.
Awesome.
That's why if you've ever tried, that's why if you've ever tried unflavored Pedialyte, it tastes like sweat.
Oh my God. Oh, no, it is interesting because, well, yeah, I have some stories about Pedialyte, but anyway, if you've ever been in college or seen college kids on a, Sunday morning, they're typically chugging Pedialyte. But it didn't used to be that they marketed Pedialyte toward adults, but now they do, which is interesting.
And a lot of it is just based on, everyone tends to have their arguments on what concentration of electrolytes and sugar is best. And so there's kind of a push where some people feel like Pedialyte has a better
balance
versus Gatorade, but a lot
it's
of
better
it's
sweat for you to drink.
Personal preference.
What about like the liquid IVs and all that stuff? I mean, is that all just the same?
Yeah, again, it's the same. The benefits of, some of the benefits are going to be whether or not they're in the packets versus the already made. So like liquid IV comes in packets that you mix with water.
Yes. So what does that mean? Is that bad?
Well, it's just so you can, it's not bad. It's just a preference thing, right? You can buy a box of 30 of them and have them and just keep them on hand.
Yeah, I tend to just keep some, and you can buy, I buy the Gatorade Zero or the liquid IVs or something, and I just keep them in my purse.
Yeah.
The packets. Mm-hmm. And then that way, if you're out and about or whatever and you need a little pick-me-up, you got it.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it's just personal preference.
Okay. Yeah, because some of it tastes like crap and some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
So some of it tastes like sweat. Does it really taste like sweat?
It does.
Unflavored? Yeah. Poor kids. Are we making babies drink that stuff? Ick. Oh, well. All right. Well, Dr. Riffle, is there anything else you wanted to talk about now that we've talked about sweat and depression?
I don't think so. In general, I wanted to throw out the suicide crisis hotline.
Please.
So it is, you can call or text 988, and that's a national number, 24/7. So having that, just memorize it, right? 988, and you can
not
call or text
911, 988.
Correct. And then you can call or text that anytime, 24/7, and that's a national suicide hotline.
And even if you're a child, you don't have to have a parent. Just if you're feeling like something, just do it.
Yeah, and if you are having thoughts of hurting yourself, hurting others, then go to the ER, call 988, and really that would be the better initial choice if you're at those thoughts versus scheduling an appointment. So an emergency situation, ER or calling 988.
Yes. So, and again, don't let your pride get in the way of getting help because it's so very important.
It is.
We need to be the best people we can be.
Yep. And we like to say that no judgment on our part. We just want to get you feeling better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing. And that's why you're there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why you chose your career, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning and talking about a topic that's very, very important that, getting dudes to talk is a whole other situation. So good for you for bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think Pete Wilson is here in the house, so he has some news to talk about. And we have another message, so we'll be back right after this.
Did you know Jackson is home to a locally owned and operated full-service print shop? Zip Printing covers all your print, signage, and design needs. From business cards, booklets, and posters to yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, oversized signage, and more. We can help you or your business advertise and look good doing it. Zip Printing also offers logo design. Allow us to assist you in building or elevating your brand today. Zip Printing is located in the Stockmeister Plaza at 708 East Main Street in Jackson, Ohio. So stop in or give us a call at 740-286-3023.
are back, and Pete Wilson is. You look like Marty McFly when he starts to disappear.
No, we have to
On Back to the
we have to make
Future.
a production adjustment, don't we?
Yes, we do. Okay, now we're back.
Okay.
And no, I was just telling them off the air. We actually have. Were you here when we were talking about Gatorade and all that stuff? Did you walked in the middle of that discussion?
Yeah, cut the end of it. Though I'm not sure I'll have another Gatorade.
Well, we have a beer at 6 cents.
Okay.
That is a Thirst Aid beer. It has electrolytes and Gatorade in it.
Okay, well that's another selling point.
There
isn't
you
it?
go. So,
Okay.
and it's purple.
Purple.
like
Okay.
Purple.
Well, why not? Right.
Just saying.
Okay. All right. Okay. Trailblazing in the craft beer field, right?
Something like that. I mean, it will keep you as hydrated as alcoholic beverages can. How's that?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Which isn't very.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So what's going on in the world of news?
Okay. Well, I'm going to lead off with something that actually happened just about a week ago on Wednesday afternoon. And it is featured heavily with a major feature in today's Telegram, by the way. I think Red Thompson, when he was here on Main Street TV on Thursday, pinch hitting for me, may have talked about it because he covered it, did a good job covering this. But it's a big news story, and I think on a broader sense, it's a significant thing for Jackson and downtown Jackson in particular. And what I'm talking about is the Cambrian, the Cambrian Apartments there at 254 East Main Street. That is right in the heart of downtown Jackson, the corner of Main and Broadway. Last Wednesday, the reason that they're in the news and that we did a big story is they quietly celebrated their 40th anniversary as the reborn Cambrian.
Whoa.
This was not a public
That's
event.
wild.
They wanted to keep it, for some stakeholders, the people who were involved in it, and the residents themselves. They have a small gathering room in there, so they didn't announce it publicly, but they allowed us to cover it. And on the back end, in my news judgment, it was important to celebrate the 40 years because I was around in 1985 when they actually opened the new Cambrian. The new Cambrian, of course, most people know it is housing, apartments, mostly for senior citizens, but also for some handicapped persons of any age. It almost always stays full. It is run by the Jackson Metropolitan Housing Authority.
Okay.
And Rhonda Downey, who is the current executive director, I'll have to credit her for having the idea to celebrate that 40th anniversary
For sure.
because it was a long shot that something like that was going to happen with that building, whatever it turned into, because the Cambrian Hotel, of course, goes back to 1902 when it opened. Industrialist Edwin Jones built it, kind of as a showplace for Jackson. In those days, it was important for a community to have a big grand hotel as kind of like a focal point, and there it was,
Sure.
right in the middle of town. And that's exactly what it was for many years. But
Wonder what it cost to build way back then.
I am not sure, but it was built as a grand hotel, not
Yes.
as a earlier day Super 8 or
No,
Motel 6 or whatever.
it was top of the line.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest hotels in the area, and as you can tell by the size of the building, it would still be a huge hotel by today's standards. But it declined over the years. I'm not sure when it closed, late 60s, early 70s. I think in the 60s, actually. The building was there. Not sure what the plans were, but it fell into disrepair, deteriorated further. And I remember my former boss, Ed Clark, who was the editor for many years. He wrote a very popular column, and he would bring it up every now and then. He felt like it was one of the worst things ever for downtown Jackson, the fact that it was sitting there.
Sure.
He called it an eyesore, and that's what it was. And of course, it looked worse inside than it did on the outside. And so, riding in on his figurative white horse was the late A.J. Stockmeister, who of course is associated with our company, the father of Alan Stockmeister and the other Stockmeister children, and he, and along with his wife Bernadine, who is always, a motor right behind him, they came up with the idea for a project. It was a visionary type thing, one of those things that you think, man, would it be great if we could do this? But the doing is something different. Well, of course, it was going to take federal funding. And that's what they went and got. They went to Washington, D.C. I know they lobbied through then Congressman Bob McEwen, but they even had an audience with President Ronald Reagan back in the 80s. You can throw that picture up there, Adrian, if you would.
How cool is that?
Right.
Look at that.
That is the evidence that they did. And there's more than one picture, but that's one of them that we're showing you. Of course, Ronald Reagan there shaking the hand of Art A.J. Stockmeister, and right behind you have Bernadine smiling. But they were able to get the necessary funding to basically renovate the hotel. It wasn't an out-and-out restoration, but the exterior of the hotel looked the same. They didn't change that.
Yes.
And so it looks much like it did. It did from the very beginning. But it was an improbable thing, and of course it did two things. It filled a housing need for for seniors and the disabled who need subsidized housing, and it's hard for them to live in a house or whatever. And it has pretty much stayed full the whole time, so it has worked out that way.
Oh, it's done
But
wonders.
on another sense, it's what it did for downtown Jackson. And that's why, I think that it was an important story, and to celebrate the fact that it has, prospered over these 40 years, because before you had an eyesore in the middle of downtown Jackson, which is affecting other property in downtown Jackson, the overall, I think, perception of the downtown. And you also have more people living downtown, of course, doing business downtown, being active in the downtown. And so you have that project, and then you have the Marquee that came along they started working on that in the late 90s, and of course the new auditorium was done in 2015. Those two things in particular, I think, changed the face of downtown Jackson. Not the only thing, and I know some other businesses are important and others have come and gone, and I know about the so-called urban sprawl where you have some of the bigger stores building outside. That's almost how it is in every town. But having the Marquee and the Cambrian in downtown Jackson is important. And as you know, with your business right there downtown, the Sixth Sense, and you have others that have been successful. The Spot on Main. You have the new Ellie Mills Mercantile. You have what Kevin Baxter has done. A block away with that building that was in really bad shape, and all the other businesses that have stayed loyal to the downtown. You have the Downtown Association that does the sidewalk market.
Absolutely.
It happens slow, and so you maybe don't appreciate it, but if you pause and really reflect on it, it is really great for downtown Jackson, because when one good thing happens, it helps them all. And so we'll show you several other pictures there from that Cambrian thing, but the article that we have in the paper, Jennifer, is a reflection on the history a little bit. It has a little bit of that.
Where did the Cambrian get its name?
It got its name from the Latin word for Wales, or of the Welsh people.
Oh,
Cambria.
Okay.
It's Cambria, and so they called it the Cambrian.
Gotcha.
But
now I know.
But it was a very nice event. There were several speakers there. If you can throw those pictures up there, Adrian, I'll talk about them one at a time. Bob Irvin, of course, Mr. History, talked about the history, and he's showing, it may be hard to see there, but you can maybe see how opulent the main parlor was there on the ground floor.
Is that a fountain?
Had a fountain right in the middle of the main lobby there. It was grandiose. It really was like some of these grand historic hotels.
Wasn't there like a balcony up above or something?
I'm not sure about that. I remember covering back in '85 when they opened it. I knew a lot of that stuff, but I was never in it. I was in it one time as a 6-year-old, I think, when it was still operating, and I can't remember a whole lot. But anyway, Bob Irvin was one of the speakers. Also, other speakers there, Adrian, if you can go ahead and throw up a couple other pictures there. That is Rhonda Downey on the left. She is the Jackson Metropolitan Housing Authority Director. Their office is in Wellston. They do the Bundy Heights apartments. They do the apartments over there on 13th Street in Wellston, and they do the Cambrian. And flanking her is Alan Stockmeister, who, of course, is the son of A.J. Stockmeister. He spoke about the building project. He talked about how difficult it was because they basically used the shell of the building. They kept it.
Sure.
I guess, the structure wasn't in really bad shape, but a lot of problems inside, and they had to reconfigure it for apartments.
Right.
So, it was a challenging job. One of the Stockmeister companies did the construction work, so he talked about that. There is Randy Evans. He is the mayor of Jackson, of course. He talked about briefly what it means to downtown Jackson, that it's there.
Sure.
Which is, we just addressed that a little bit. And he also, this was before Randy was involved in construction himself. Of course, he is the head of he owns a construction company here in Jackson as well. But he knows a little bit about construction, of course, and he marveled at the project that faced them, that they had to get done, and they did. So we have a big spread in Wednesday's paper about that event.
Cool.
And I felt like I really wanted to kind of make that the main thing I talked about today, because I think not only marking the 40th anniversary of what the Cambrian is today, but what it means, I think, to a lot more than just, the people that live there and the Jackson Metropolitan Housing Authority. It is one of the most important things, I think, that has happened to Jackson in the last several decades.
Oh, very much. Such a good thing for the
Right.
town.
I mean, it filled two boxes: an important community service, the senior citizens / disabled housing, but also, a cornerstone for the downtown. All right, speaking of buildings, there's going to be another positive event today just down the road at the Buckeye Hills Career Center, and we will be on hand to cover this in person.
Okay.
The Buckeye Hills Career Center is having a ribbon cutting ceremony for not one, but two new facilities. Jamie Nash, the superintendent there, and the board and the staff was able to snare some good outside funding to do these. They had groundbreaking ceremonies in the not too long ago, but now those buildings are ready to go. One is a heavy equipment training complex. Another is the electrical trades building.
Yep, pretty
so
cool.
Our editorial assistant, Alex Shope, will be down there to cover that event, and we'll certainly follow up with coverage on what those buildings will do. But obviously, it's going to improve, expand on, and add to the vocational training, education, and instruction that is available down there on that campus. And, I think, as you well know, that has become much more into play the last 5 or 10 years.
Very much.
Career-oriented education. I mean, the vocational education is in.
Yes,
All right,
it is.
so we will be covering that. Also wanted to tell you there were lots of sirens heading down towards Oak Hill on Monday, and we found out what that was about. Don't have all the names and details, but we just wanted to let our TV audience know that there was a structure fire at 86 French Road that is just outside of Oak Hill. Heavy damage to a house or to a double wide there.
Oh, no.
We don't know the name of the victims. We know that they all got out okay. But in addition to the Madison Jefferson Fire Department, which serves the Oak Hill area, there was also the Hamilton Township Fire Department, the South Webster Fire Department, and the Jackson Fire Department, all there, as well as the Jackson County EMS. An occupant of the resident, we were told, was transported by Jackson County EMS to Holzer Medical Center, Jackson, for possible treatment. Firefighters worked more than 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours, to put out that fire. And what we've been told is heavy damage there. So we had what we knew, at least we put that out on our website and in the paper yesterday. And I think since then we've gotten a picture of the fire, and we hope to get some more details from Fire Chief Jeff Heft. All right, speaking of Oak Hill, remember we had the big acorn unveiling on June the 14th. Big news for Oak Hill. And
the world's largest acorn.
Right, I've talked to people who have gone there to see it. Since it was unveiled, and it even though you knew the dimensions and you saw the pictures in the paper or whatever on Facebook, it still kind of wows you. It is just huge. But there's been a little bit of a misconception. People that haven't really paid attention to the information that's put out on it, they got a little misinformation to the point that Curtis Strickland, who is the Oak Hill Chamber president, and Oak Hill Mayor Paul McNeil both put out statements trying to straighten the misinformation up.
How's there misinformation about the world's largest acorn?
Okay, somehow it
Like
got
what?
somehow it got out on some Facebookers that they presumed incorrectly, and nobody told them this officially, that it was a project of the village of Oak Hill. And so you had people getting on Paul McNeil, the Oak Hill mayor's back, about how can you spend village money for a big acorn sculpture when we need this in this town and we need this in this town. and we
What
need
rock have people been living under?
I don't know. It's and of course.
I mean, it only went on for years.
And on the chamber side,
fundraising.
which is not government, where it's everybody is a volunteer, including the officers. The village is, even though they're kind of getting criticism, the village is getting credited with doing the Acorn Project. And of course, it was all the chamber. The chamber with a lot of help. They got a grant from the Ohio Arts Council, but it was mostly private fundraising. Excuse me, $30,000 worth of funding to be able to build that sculpture and the concrete foundation that's under it. And Curtis Strickland wanted everybody to know no tax money was involved at all from anybody, unless you want to talk about Ohio Arts Council money. I'm not sure whether all that's tax money or not either, but no local tax money involved in that at all. Central Memorial Park is actually owned by the chamber. A lot of people don't know that. They pay the utilities, they do the cleaning.
Gotcha.
And this is a completely all volunteer organization. So it was a great job by the chamber doing that. We've said that before. We'll say it again. And the village did not contribute to it. They were not expected to. The chamber wanted to do it on its own. They didn't want to lean on anybody in particular. Just anybody, business, organization, individual that wanted to come forth and donate to that project could do it, and that's what they did. So
oh my gosh.
Anyway, that
Okay.
information, which I know that Paul McNeil put out something on his personal Facebook, not the Village of Oak Hill Facebook, but what Curtis Strickland put out on Facebook, and what he also talked about at the last chamber meeting where Jeremiah Shaver covered it, his remarks, and he really lays out the whole thing on the associations and who was responsible.
Yes, because the people that helped should be,
Right, they should get the credit, and no one should get the
credited.
blame if someone wants to turn it on its head and make it a negative thing. Because
Acorn
obviously, it's going to
scandal 2025.
It's going to put Oak Hill on the map. The chamber feels that not only is it a point of pride having the world's largest acorn, they feel it will probably draw some visitors and tourists from the outside.
Of course.
There was a lady, maybe you've seen this on Facebook, who does, or at least she's one of the ones who does, called Ohio Roadmap Visits, I think is the Facebook. But anyway, she posts things on places that she visits that are interesting and touristy type things.
Sure.
And she posted pictures about her visit to Oak Hill. And not only did she visit the Acorn, that was the main reason, she hit a couple other things of interest in the Oak Hill area, including one of the restaurants and like that.
Okay.
And something else that she saw. I even forgot what that was.
So it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
It did exactly awareness for Oak Hill.
Yes.
But it is, once again, the world's largest acorn. It is much bigger than the one in Raleigh, North Carolina, that used to be the world's largest acorn.
And it is not a scandal.
No, it is not. It is a marvelous community achievement,
Yes.
is what it is. All right. Also, we want to report in Vinton County, an issue is continuing there. Not an issue really, but just a process, I guess. We want to give you an update on. At the last school board meeting, a representative of the Vinton County Board of Elections, Marie Reffett, she is the deputy director. She went to the school board meeting to try to get a firm commitment from the school board and the school district that the elections board can continue to use the elementary schools as polling places. Now, they haven't used them as polling places yet, but they got a commitment to try it out this year. This November's general election, polling places will be in Vinton County. There will only be 3, and it will be the 3 elementary schools in Vinton County. Central Elementary in MacArthur, West Elementary at Allensville or near Allensville, and South Elementary just north of Hamden.
Yep.
So that'll be a big change. And of course, they've got to let, the elections has got to let 8,000 voters know that that's going to change. And I'm sure that they will do that. They'll let the voters know. They don't want to have to worry about what happens next year because their commitment was only for this year.
Okay.
So the board is going to take that under advisement. They didn't make a commitment to do that at the meeting, at least, but I'm sure they're going to be discussing at future meetings, and they will let the elections board know about their decision. You know, school boards come and go, members come and go. There's a school board election this year. There's a new superintendent in Benton County, so you can't.
Met him the other day, by the way.
Okay, yes, Brad Silvis. You can't be sure that everybody's going to feel the same way about an issue. Kind of a related sidebar. Last night at the Oak Hill Local Board of Education meeting that Jeremiah Shaver covered, Jackson County Elections Director Margaret Casey was there to renew a request by the Elections Board to use one of the Oak Hill schools. I'm not sure which building because they have the high school, middle school, and the elementary school, but they would like to use one of the school buildings as a polling place for not only Oak Hill but neighboring townships. Of course, in most of Jackson County, the voting now takes place at Wellston High School and at Jackson High School, but they have not got that commitment yet for the Oak Hill area. Right now, voters in the Oak Hill area vote at the Madison Jefferson Bingo Hall.
Right.
So they're trying to make that uniform, and they have not been told no by the Oak Hill School Board, but they haven't been told yes either. So once again, that request was renewed at last night's Oak Hill School Board meeting. I'm sure that's a story that Jeremiah Shaver will be talking about, and you can read more about it in a future edition of the Telegram. We have a cooling center now in Jackson County.
Good deal.
It is the Jackson Area Family Activity Center, and I know we beat this to death. It's the former YMCA, just to make sure that there's no mix-up about what I'm talking about. But it's at 594 East Main Street behind McDonald's. But it is now open as a cooling center. The hours are 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's Monday through Thursday. And on Friday, from 7:30 to 7 p.m. And on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's not an overnight deal, but it is a daytime deal when it's the hottest.
Sure,
you
of
can
course.
go there and you don't need to feel like, I'm not a member, whatever. They want to serve the community, particularly people who need to have a cool place to go.
Yes.
And so
it is dangerous.
the Jackson Area Family Activity Center now open as a cooling center. In Benton County, as we previously reported, there is a cooling center at the Renovate Life Church on Infirmary Road near MacArthur. It opened on Monday. It will stay open at least through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. And as I advertised before, they've got popsicles, TV, and nice seating for you, to relax. Refreshments too. All right, another event coming up, maybe you can talk about. There will be a Paws on the Patio event at the Six Sense. At your Six Sense restaurant. I know you're a big supporter of the Dog Pound, but Jennifer Hughes and her group will be there with some adoptable dogs.
Yeah.
Most adoptable dogs, and so you can meet some of them. Maybe you'll find your new canine partner there.
That's right.
It's a great opportunity to also meet with the dog warden staff, Jennifer and all of them, and other volunteers that may be there. I think sometimes they walk the dogs too during that process. But it's going to be, my information, Jennifer, you can confirm this, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And you can learn more about the Dog Pound, and they really need as many volunteers as possible to help.
They do.
Out there.
And that'll be tomorrow evening. We had planned it for last week, but it was so windy and it was raining, and so we postponed it to this week. We know it's hot. Had a few people ask about the heat and the dog's paws but the great thing is we have the Veterans Park, which is a nice grassy area where they can set up their tents and all that stuff, and the dogs can hang out on the grass. So don't worry about the dogs being stuck on the pavement or whatever. And I'm going to go buy a baby pool or two, so we'll have that filled up for them, and we'll have all kind. I make pup cups for them, which I freeze, and all the fun stuff.
Okay.
So yes, please come out tomorrow night to Sixth Sense and check it out and meet some furry friends that might be up for adoption. Maybe you'll find your new best friend.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure it will be a fun event to be around the canines, and they all need homes. And the Dog Pound for a number of years now, Deb Fout, when she was dog warden, was so good at this. They kind of turn things around
Oh,
to
very
where,
much.
they're very successful at adopting these dogs. I remember in the old days, a lot of dogs got put down.
They work it.
When they just didn't know what else to do
Yep.
with them. It wasn't anything that anybody wanted to do, but there's only so much room, and there's a lot of loose dogs that are homeless and that are strays. And so, I'd have to think, I know that there's a lot of purebred opportunities out there, and that's great too if that's what you need. But nobody needs a home more than these dogs from the dog pound.
You're right.
And there's some really good ones.
There's some really good ones. So yeah, come out.
When they look
bring your own dog.
When they
too.
look you in the eye, tell me.
I
Tell me
know.
how you say no.
I know.
But the Paul's on the patio at 6 cents, but there's other ones coming up as
Yep.
well. Jennifer is really getting out,
Yes,
and
she
is wanting to. She has put the word out that if you want to host an event, just call the dog pound
Yeah,
out there.
just let them know.
And they really want to get. They really want to get more. They really want to get more events in Wellston and Oak Hill in particular.
Sure.
All right, one other person, that we want to give a high five to that deserves a lot of credit is Brady Daly.
Yes.
Brady will be a senior.
He's my neighbor.
He is. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Brady will be a senior at Jackson High School. We got his picture, I think, don't we, Adrian? Okay, Brady is a senior at Jackson High School. Good-looking young man.
Yep.
He is the son of Scott and Aaron Daly. Aaron, of course,
Yep.
famous as the former 4-H agent in Jackson County, now in Gallia County. But Brady, so it's only right that Brady is in the news for receiving an Ohio 4-H Achievement Award for camping. Now, this is a state-level award. This is big
That's
stuff.
so good.
He's 17 years old. He's been a member of 4-H for 12 years, always does very well in the livestock competitions, but also in other aspects of 4-H as well. He is a 4-H camp counselor, a 4-H junior fair board member, and he served as a Cantor's Cave 4-H camp ambassador. But Ohio 4-H Achievement Awards are presented annually to individuals for outstanding work in their project area. In this case, it is camping for Brady.
Very cool.
Youth, I'm not sure whether this is going to happen for Brady, but Youth Achievement Award recipients can travel to Atlanta in November to represent the state at the National 4-H Congress. So congratulations to Brady Daly for being Ohio 4-H Achievement Award winner. Good job.
Very cool.
So there we are.
Well, thank you,
we've reached
Pete.
we've reached the end of the stack, but we have some left over, and I'm sure we'll come up with some new things to talk about tomorrow.
I'm sure we will. Well, thank you for hanging out with us this morning, Pete, and thank you all for tuning in. It was really nice talking with Dr. Riffle today. So we always enjoy having our friends from Holzer here. Have a great day. Once again, lots and lots of heat out there today, so please be very, very careful and check on your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, and your pets. Don't forget that part. And we'll see you right back here in the morning. Bye-bye.